Hi, everybody. On this episode of the Pair of Kings podcast, we sit down with the founders and the people behind one of our favorite brands in New York, Blackmerle. They are currently doing a pop-up in New York City, and we want to talk to them behind their design ethos behind the brand, some of the things that they bring over from South Korea to New York, and what a Blackmerle customer or a Blackmerle wearer would look like. Enjoy the episode.
What you gonna do with all that junk inside your trunk? I'ma get you drunk, get you love drunk off my hump, 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 my lovely little lump. Check it out.
Welcome back, everybody, to this episode of the Pair of Kings podcast, season 12. I'm your host, Saul Thompson. You can find me on Instagram at Saul Thompson. I'm joined this week not only by my wonderful co-host.
Hey guys, I'm Saul's wonderful co-host. My name is Michael Smith, and you can find me on the internet at @_Smithstagram usually.
This week, we are joined by two very special guests. We've talked about this brand a couple of times on the podcast. For video viewers, video watchers, you can see that we're in Komune. For audio watchers, we're sitting in Komune. But this is one of their brands that we've been a fan of for a very long time, since the first pop-up back in, what was it, July of 2023, Michael?
September 2023.
September of 2023. But we're very excited to have them. They are in town from South Korea doing a pop-up. Unfortunately, by the time this video is out, that pop-up will be down. But we've got them here now, and we are very excited to talk to them about the brand, some of the philosophies behind it.
Say the name of the brand.
Oh, sorry, it's Blackmerle.
There
Sorry.
you go.
Yeah,
I was so... You guys want to introduce yourselves? You want to tell us a little bit about what you do at Blackmerle?
Yeah, so my name is Terry. I'm the founder, designer of the Blackmerle.
And my name is Justice, and I'm in charge of like communications, visuals, and installations.
And this is the entirety of the Blackmerle team. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. I did not realize that it was just you two doing the whole thing.
Well, we work with quite a bit of people, collaborators here and there, so it's really doable.
Yeah, it's cool. I remember Blackmerle was one of the first brands at Komune that I learned about. I think Brandon, in particular, is a very big fan of you guys. And in our first interview here, like a year and a half ago, he was wearing one of your items.
It was
for
the field shirt, I think.
Yeah, he had on the field shirt, and he always talked it up. And it's really cool that you guys have taken over the whole space now, kind of come full circle.
I think there'll probably be some B-roll that we can cut in, but the pop-up is incredible. They've taken over the entirety of Komune. All the things that you see behind here, or behind us here, are Blackmerle. Even the things up in the little shelving units behind us. But it's all over. I believe it's fall/winter 24 through fall/winter 25.
Yes, that's correct.
And so
With some special edition items.
Yep. We'll jump into some of those special edition items in a little bit. But before we launch into anything too far, let's start with a fit check. Michael, do you want to start us off?
Yes, I am wearing my Kozaburo calligraphy pants, which are the only indigo denim I will allow to touch my body. A white Oliver Leone tank top that I wear a lot, and then a Blackmerle shirt that does not belong to me, but that I really felt like wearing, and it was right next to me. So I'm wearing Kommune's property or Blackmerle's property, depending on.
Are you wearing two shirts or just one?
No, I'm wearing one shirt, but it has this like double cuff detail that sort of makes it look like you've layered two shirts on, which is really fun. Yeah, big fan. I'd never actually like tried on the full Blackmerle outfit until yesterday, and now I get it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to, Saul? You want to bookend this?
Yeah, sure. I am wearing a giant pair of the Ludan, I think it's maxi pants. I wanted the skirt, but I couldn't find it for cheap, so I got the pants. The only difference is that they cut down the crotch and sewed it into a pair of pants rather than a skirt. I'm wearing a 2003 Chemical Brothers promo tee that I was really excited to find. I got it for like $20 or $30. It's on a shoot blank. They did all the licensing for the Chemical Brothers in between 03 and 05. It just says, "Hey boy, hey girl," and then on the back it says, "Here we go." And then I'm wearing a Yoji Bat turtleneck. It's missing a neck tag, so I couldn't tell you the season or what line it's from or anything like that, but I got it on Vestiaire Collective in 2019, I think for like $60, which was a great pickup.
Nice. Saul's having a goth day today, and I'm having a blue jeans day.
Yeah, we code switched.
Yeah, we swapped. Terry, you want to tell us what you're wearing?
Everything Blackmerle from FW24.
Yeah.
The jacket, the double sleeve work blouson from FW24. Pants, I don't know if you can see the cargo pants. Inner tee, distressed mohair knit, 2 field shirts, and the jacket. A lot of layers.
3, 4, 5 layers.
5 layers.
And then if you went outside earlier and you put on another jacket.
No.
Oh, okay, so it's all this. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Cozying up.
And the shoes as well.
And the wing boots
Nice.
from the new season.
Hell yeah. Justice, what you got on?
I've got the Blackmerle hooded jacket, which has been like a staple for a while. The cargo FW24 pants, distressed mohair knit, and then dark shadow dust tank.
And your skate shoes.
Yeah, my skate shoes.
One of the things, and I think you really exemplify this, one of the things that Brandon always talked about and that we've heard about Blackmerle is it's this sort of idea of you can just keep layering and layering.
I honestly was in disbelief. Brandon had us play dress up for Blackmerle the other day for a commune spam post. I'm sure we'll also put it out as a reel on our page. But kind of just kept giving us clothes. And then after we were done, just started walking around and putting on more clothes. As long as the thing will fit over what you were wearing, it sort of fits into the outfit really well, which is kind of crazy. And again, I didn't believe it until I had 5 layers on. And it all worked together, which was kind of crazy.
You've got 5 shirts on and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many cuffs is that? Because there's 2 double cuff field shirts, so that's 4.
5
7?
cups in total.
5 cups,
but
okay.
they are cozy. Like it's not
Yeah, no,
uncomfortable. They're designed to be layered together. So the length and like the armhole, everything should work together as long as you go similar size.
Where does the urge to do that come from? What's the idea?
So each piece may be understated, way more reduced, but as you layer, you wanna like make the look more severe, which I'll get to later on more.
Yeah.
About the idea of reduced yet severe.
Cool. I guess then before we do that, would you give us sort of just a general overview of like how Blackmerle got started and what your aim is with it?
Started back in 2016, back in Canada actually, but ever since then we moved our operation to South Korea, and that's where we are based now.
Yeah.
One of the things that we were chatting about the other day when we were running around and trying clothes, and I guess you were briefly helping set up and steam everything, one of the things that we were talking about is the way that you produce clothes and the process that you go through for sampling, because some of the details on a lot of these jackets or shirts or pants, whatever it is, are pretty thoughtful. And I assume it's not just sort of a first thing off the drawing board. And you mentioned that you iterate quite a bit. Can you talk a little bit about that process, how you even pick fabrics, how you start with an idea and how you get to the final product?
Yeah, talking about the sampling, one of our jacket actually, this jacket that I'm wearing, we had to do 9 different samples. It took us like 8 months.
Damn.
At some point, I just went full on crazy. I was like, I want to go back to the version number 5. And then from that point, it just went insane.
What was 5 the version that ended up working, or was it like 5?
I can't even
branched
remember
to-
now. Like, it's just so messy now.
Yeah.
But I know, like we finalized it.
Is this one of the production ones, or is this one of the 9 samples?
This is the production.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So this
The
is
final
perfected.
Yes.
It's cool. Oh yeah. What is it made of?
So 100% cotton. The main fabric we actually custom weaved from Japan. We collaborate with the textile developer over there. Yeah. It's using like 4 different slubby yarns and then weaving them together, creating these maximal texture. It's actually quite hard to see from afar, and that was the point. If you go up close, you'll see all these severe details, a lot of textures.
I like it. Is this, you were talking yesterday about some of the textile manufacturers in Japan that retire and then that fabric is just like lost forever. Is this one of those, or is this a...
This is definitely one of the smaller scale fabric mills. We work with multiple companies, but this is definitely from all of our custom weave fabrics are from those smaller scale mills, and they are old. The people operating it.
Justice, one of the things that we were talking about the other day are some of the differences between Korean and U.S. culture and how that may play into fashion just in general. Could you, I guess, reiterate for the audience our conversation, but some of the things that you were explaining just about the way people hang out, the way people operate, and then just the differences baseline in some of the fashion culture between Korea and the US? The way people approach fashion and approach buying clothes. I believe you mentioned that it's a lot more popular to wear a lot of designer brands, a little bit more ostentatious.
I think like within the Korean market, or I guess like fashion, like for fashion people, that's true, but it's not so much like designer brands that you would think of that you see in like Paris Fashion Week or like the typical like major labels. It's a very fast trend-based kind of culture. So like it's really like who's emerging and who's kind of like on top of the dog pile, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Right.
And so you do see brands come and go pretty quick, and then there are some that kind of stick around or blow up. And sometimes like they can blow up within the country, but not abroad.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like something that's interesting to me, is because like the infrastructure in South Korea for someone starting a brand is amazing. So you do get a lot of people starting brands, and that a lot of competition essentially, but also like a lot of creativity, because essentially after the Korean War, there was a lot of focus on education
Yep.
and rebuilding essentially the infrastructure for the country. And
Yep.
so I think like over the last 10 years or like even 15 years since like I started visiting South Korea, I really saw like a huge surge of creativity, ranging from like fashion to like tattoo culture.
Oh.
And you kind of see over the years, like people are getting more and more into themselves, like figuring out who they are, what their like style identity is, or whatever their craft is.
I am kind of curious. So you mentioned after the Korean War, a lot of education or a lot of investment in education was made. One of the interesting points that you made the other day is that because of that, there's not much of a history or access to vintage clothing, maybe in the way that it is in the US. Do you think that the way designers are referencing clothing or pulling quotations or finding things, I guess, to quote in their own design is different?
I think like due to like the digital world really gave access to a lot of people, and of course like South Koreans are really good with technology, like just in terms of like social media or gaming, whatever. And for the younger generation, definitely they can pull inspiration from anywhere, same as anyone else. But in regards to vintage, that's true. They don't really have access to like, it's not like stuff that that your parents wore.
Got it.
But there is a lot of interest in it, but I think like a lot of it is sourced from abroad, and so there is a bit of a premium on it, and like people bring it in bulk from Japan, for example. But vintage has definitely like become more popular over the years.
Is it taking off sort of, I guess New York it's has been taken off, but has it taken off sort of in that way that there are stores dedicated to selling vintage clothing, things like that?
Yeah, there are a lot of vintage stores.
Yeah.
A lot of good ones too.
So
Yeah.
like very curated
Yep.
type of.
There's a range. Like sometimes it's just like bulk. Sometimes people bring in more like grailed pieces, so to speak. Like
Sometimes literally just selling them on the ground on a carpet.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Like, there's
Yeah.
an area for that.
You mentioned that there's a lot of support for starting brands in Korea. Where does that come? Like, is that like, is there infrastructure government wise, or is it like just that people are always looking for a new brand?
It's like a lot of factories and a lot of dye factories,
Yeah.
washing factory. They're all close by. Some of them are not. Some of them are in the suburbs, but usually they're very accessible. If you work hard, you can
Yeah.
find all those people.
Yeah, and there are also like government support systems like bursaries and grants that you can get, but I haven't really seen that so much in the fashion industry, but definitely with like startup companies, it's
Cool.
a big thing.
Yeah. I think one of the bigger things we're always talking about is that in America, from what we can see, it's so hostile to try and start a brand.
Yeah.
Like it's not even that it's not, they don't help you. It's that it's like actively very difficult to start up a brand here. Just things are so expensive and so competitive, and
I would say that. I feel like you also need an established following or an established almost identity. There are a couple of brands that have popped up recently, but they've all been like celebrity stylists or a celebrity lending their name to a brand, something like that.
or someone who like has tenure at a previous like huge name. Like it's always former Balenciaga employees and things like that. And that's sort of the only way that you can do it here. So it's cool to see.
I guess there's a lot of brands like that in Korea too. But there's also a lot of like smaller brands that just like trying things out.
And you two don't have a background in fashion before Blackmerle.
No.
Is that correct?
I do.
You do. Okay. Well, because you studied, we talked about this previously. You didn't study anything fashion related, right? Or you did?
I did shortly. So
Okay.
I started a degree in business, and with 50% of my courses being fashion marketing.
Oh, okay. Cool,
But I
cool.
took a gap year, and then I got a job and a promotion that essentially I would have applied for anyways if I graduated. So I just left.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah. But you worked in, I guess you worked in fashion briefly, or?
Yeah, I've had like 10 years of different jobs.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. My apologies. I was not familiar with your game. Was there like a driving force behind starting Blackmerle, like a gap you felt like was missing, or like clothes you specifically wanted but couldn't find?
Yeah, I think it's more like the latter. I wish I had some like great origin story, but I just like loved clothes all my life. So
No,
I
that's-
guess it was
I feel like
just
that's a great origin story.
That is my
Yeah.
favorite. My favorite origin story.
It
Yeah,
just
no, you're right.
naturally went that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I was going to say, I feel like the design ethos is very recognizable, but almost slightly nondescript, if that makes sense, where you use a lot of sort of muted tones, whether they be gray or colors that are in grayscale. And one of the things I've really enjoyed seeing is when you look around, and I hope it comes through on video, but it really comes through in person, you see a lot of different shades of color, even though they're all in grayscale.
Yeah.
And they all work together really well. I wanted to ask a little bit about how you go about choosing colors because, you know, you see purple, there's a couple that are slightly more green, a couple that are slightly more tan, there's some that are very dark, whether it be black. How do you sort of keep within that color range but still make things distinctive and I guess colorful but within those bounds?
Yeah, the interplay of tones are important, especially because all our clothes are meant to be layered together. Mostly they're all in the grayscale, but yeah, thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
There are definitely loads of color if you see them in person. There's hints of blue, hints of gray, hints of purple, khaki everywhere. So I think we go through a lot of dyeing process to get the exact color that I want, or sometimes even custom weave it.
Was there, or what was the push to work almost exclusively within that grayscale bound?
I really wanted my garments to be very understated, wearable to a degree, but also standing out.
Yeah.
I think gray is a great palette to work with, especially for layering clothes.
Yeah.
I would say that, especially like seeing people, I've seen more people wearing Blackmerle at this pop-up than I have in ever. And it's very immediately recognizable. Like someone's got a plain gray hoodie on under a different jacket, but you immediately just like, you can tell. And I feel like it's like a materials or like a tones and just like a general, there's definitely a brand language, but I think it's like you say, understated.
One thing I've also really been impressed by, and again, I hope it comes through in the video, and if it doesn't, hopefully we'll get like B-roll or detail shots to show it off. But even just touching a lot of the fabrics, you've done a lot of really interesting things. You were telling me about a wax treatment on one of the jackets, the leather over on the jacket here. I don't know if viewers can sort of see an arm poking out, but it's very textured and very almost tactile, even when you're not touching it. Could you talk a little bit about some of your processes and how you even come up with those? I assume it's a long sampling process, but I feel like some of the treatments on some of the garments are very distinct and very unique, and I haven't necessarily seen them before.
So usually the process begins with choosing the fabric, because that's always our bottleneck. We have a limited budget because we are a small production. We choose the right fabric, and then everything starts from there. Yeah, making our very distinctive color palette, we work a lot with different dyers, natural dye, pigment dyer, someone who dyes the fabric. For example, this piece right here, it started as black because this was one of the dead stock fabric, and that's black was all they had. So this one, to get this plum gray color, I don't know if you can see, but the ground of the fabric is actually purple, and the hairs are kind of tinged with this slight khaki. So for example, this one we had to bleach the black fabric 5 times and then do the over dye. So sort of it kind of damaged the hair in a good way.
Yeah.
And got these like khaki tints all over.
And this is the like 13th century worker material. Is that what that was?
It's the weave style that emulates the working class.
Not that it's
horse.
from the 13th
No,
century.
no.
I didn't
The
assume
style,
that.
style of the weave
Yeah.
from back then.
Interesting. So it's so interesting to me because they seem kind of like terry. It seems more modern, I guess, than I was expecting.
It is actually a terry
Yeah.
fabric, loop back fabric, but I
cool.
just reversed them.
How did you find out about this? Like, what's the process there?
Oh, this was offered to me by the textile developer that I work with.
Cool.
Do you have any favorite things that you've made, things that you feel are really emblematic of the brand?
I would have to go with the double sleeve field shirts because they're so versatile in our layering system, and they are the popular piece right now. They're selling really well. I think they also embody our principle of reduced yet severe.
I don't think I've ever seen you with less than 2 on. Yeah.
That's actually like why I feel like you developed the double sleeve version. Originally, it came in a single sleeve, but that's how he wears it personally. And so we were thinking like, how can we make this like kind of staple styling more accessible?
Because not everyone
Yeah,
would
not
want
everyone's
to
gonna
wear
buy
2
multiple
shirts.
but we
Right.
want
That
them to
too,
be able
yeah.
to participate in like
Yeah.
our world.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And now it's like
Layer
you kind of have
for
no
you.
choice but to do it correctly, you know? Like
Exactly.
the sleeve is always going to be there.
Yeah.
That
I
is
mean,
cool.
I mean, if you pop them down, like you
Yeah.
could still wear them like the normal shirts, but
Yeah.
there's something like unique about it.
Yeah, I really like it. Do you have a favorite, Justice?
Yeah. I think it's the work blouson, both in the single and double sleeve. Personally, I'm just like, I really love a slimmer fit jacket. It kind of embodies just my personal style, what I like. Yeah, it makes me feel like kind of tough. And that's about it. Yeah, like it's just a feeling when I wear it.
What is the general idea behind Blackmerle, and like what's your I guess guiding philosophy, if that's a weird way to put it?
Reduced yet severe is our guiding principle that really goes into everything, including the fabric choice, design, and communication. Is really what it is finding that right balance between wearability and subversion, transgression. I guess you can make a severe garment. For example, you could like just put 20 zippers on a pants or like 200 darts on a pants, and you could make them look severe. But how to like reduce them down, but so that they're quite understated, but also having that severity at the same time. I'm trying to make that subtlety and something extreme, severe, to coexist. That is the goal of the design.
In the sampling process, in the design process, do you often end up with something being too severe or too reduced? Do you?
There's a lot of mistakes here and there,
Yeah.
but we fix them.
Would you say that your process is more starting very minimalist and building up, or starting very maximalist
maximal
and then breaking it
going
down? Got it. When you say transgression, do you mean the way in which you use the clothing, the way that it interacts?
Just everything from fabric state to the garment making, even our content and communication. Just having some subverted element to it that's
Yeah.
different, but doing it in a way where it's still very understated. So you are blending in to your surrounding, but you are also at the same time standing out in this very discreet manner.
Can you talk a little bit more about your surrounding as well? Like when you picture somebody in a full Blackmerle outfit and then blending in, what does the background that they're blending into look like?
It's definitely a modern urban setting. It's the clothing for the urban environment.
Cool. I'm also curious. I feel like a lot of the clothing that you have here, when you say reduced yet severe, you rarely, if ever, have a logo on anything. Even the tag is sometimes hard to see. You know, the Blackmerle logo, you can make it out. It's not like it's not there. But, you know, you don't have like a shirt that just says Blackmerle or a hoodie that says Blackmerle. When you think of reduced, are you applying that sensibility to sort of all aspects, or maybe more of the sensibilities that you use overall?
A good question. Reducing something means actually taking something exaggerated element and trying to condense them down, so they are still very subtle, but yet still having that extremeness to it. For example, some of the design choices that you can make to hide things away, some of the extreme details away. That could be one way of making it reduced.
Speaking of the tags, I know this was a story that you told in the workshop, or that was talked about, but the tags are special.
They're actually made from this supplier from Fukui, Japan, who is in operation for more than 100 years. So they are just specialized in making labels for more than 100 years. Usually the labels, at least in Korea, most of them are done in polyester, but we specifically wanted to make them in cotton, so that they would react to the dyes and the washes that we do. Little fun thing about the garment is, if you look at the tag, you can kind of guess, oh, this had been overdyed, or this had been stonewashed.
I'm also curious, when you talk about fabrics, I feel like you guys use very few synthetic fabrics, which I think is important, especially when you're layering, because it makes things wearable and breathable. Can you talk about some of the choices that you've made, either for natural versus synthetic fabrics or fibers in the things that you've made?
We actually have one jacket made of polyester, memory gabardine, but mostly we work with natural fabrics. I think they just blend in together so much well. And then they age better, which is another important factor of the brand.
Do you have any, do you have your first Blackmerle things you made, and have you like worn them in a whole lot?
Yeah. I was going to say my dad has one of the very first T-shirts that he still wears, and I have a bomber jacket we did like a runway like forever ago, and I was in it, and so I wore it, and then I still have it in my closet.
That's cool. The brand is in a wonderful place now. Has it changed a lot since its inception in 2016?
Yes, because that was my first experience in the fashion industry, and I sort of like learned it publicly, if you know what I mean. So it did go through a lot of changes. The current state of Blackmerle is after the COVID hiatus. So we were in hiatus for about 2 years during the COVID, and that's when the whole rebranding happened.
Okay, so this sort of iteration of Blackmerle has been around since for like 3 years?
Since the past 3 collections.
3 collections,
Yes.
cool.
Since let me reiterate, SS23.
SS23, cool. Where does the name Blackmerle come from?
Blackmerle is actually referring to a coat of a dog. So it's like a dog with very irregular spots and streaks on its coat.
Cool.
It's technically called Bloomer, but I just changed the blue to black.
Okay, cool.
I think that image of a stray dog with like an irregular coating really embodies what we want to portray.
I wanted to ask Justice, I know that you skate and you're part of the skate scene in Korea. I'd love to hear a little bit about that, and then how some of the clothes that you've made and worn with Blackmerle play into skating in general.
I don't really think that there's any direct connection between Blackmerle and skateboarding, to be honest. Skateboarding is more just like a personal hobby like that I've grown up with. But I think like there definitely is like silhouette references maybe, and to some degree, and like personally I enjoy wearing it when I skate.
Sure.
Like I think it has the right fit for me.
Yeah.
But
So I feel like skate clothes get destroyed very fast. So you probably have some like very lived in, worn Blackmerle.
I'm actually wearing 2 pants right now.
Oh yeah.
And if you look at the back of these pants, there was just crazy heel bite. So I hand stitched Carhartt, the bottom of an old Carhartt pant.
Wow.
to
That's
the bottom.
awesome.
And you're starting to heel bite the Carhartt pants.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. It's just patchwork.
Is this the pair of pants that you only wear as an outer layer, or is that?
These ones, like,
Sometimes he switches
the-
the order.
I switch it around. It just started from wearing gym shorts under my shorts, and I liked how like it made my pants more billowy. So it's more also just to stay warm.
Yeah, I mean it is freezing outside.
I'm not doing this year round.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there are style cues or style conventions that you've worked into just your own personal style, maybe outside of the brand? You mentioned like gym shorts underneath pants because you like how they make them move.
Honestly, I wear the same thing almost every day. Like a cartoon character, I just have like 10 of the same T-shirt.
Yeah.
So I was saying there's a very interesting story behind some of the samples that you make, because you go through so many of the samples that you use some of the materials to make one-off items.
I mean, every season we source a lot of fabrics, a lot of samples that don't get into production, or even a sample. Usually I just get greedy and just like buy a bunch of cool looking fabrics here and there, and then end up not using it because they're like too expensive, or so I do have a lot of runoffs of those fabrics, and every here and there we do these special events either in Seoul or for Komune in New York this time. Yeah, it's just great time to use up those fabrics and so make the double sleeve field shirt, for example, and just people been reacting them very nicely.
So some of the options on this rack are made out of like one-off fabrics, basically.
Not everything, but like few of them were, and I think 2 of them sold out today.
Oh wow. Any particular favorites? Any like, or like, I guess what is the reason that a material doesn't end up getting used if you find it?
Looking at the fabric by the swatch and when you actually receive them in a bigger cut, it can be very different. And when it's actually sewn into the garment, there's another big change of views. So like those are just like, it's not what I thought it would be. So like I end up not using them, or like the price was too high, but I buy them anyways because I get greedy and like I love them, but then ends up not being used. Then I can just use them. So they're actually, the one-offs are actually more valuable than the rest. Usually it's like more expensive fabrics that gets used.
But people seem to respond well to the
Yeah.
I'm also curious. I know that you love zippers, and something that Brandon was calling for was a double zip. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how you select hardware and sort of that process as well, because I feel like sometimes that gets lost in the mix. Sort of when you look at a jacket as a whole, you don't appreciate the smaller details.
If you own one of our jacket and look at the zippers, it is actually like everything's custom on there. Not like custom from scratch, but whatever YKK XL offers. So the tape of the zipper, even the finishing on the teeth of the zipper, they have been all chosen to our standard.
Did it take a while to get to the point with YKK where they would do that for you, or is it you just talk to them about it and it?
Usually, if you want to deal with them directly, there is YKK Korea, by the way. They would just tell you to just go to one of their retailers or whatever. But I just visited them and just like told them I would put big orders, and then I didn't in the beginning, but now I am like giving them enough order.
Right,
Like
you just have to
every
hit a
day.
certain like
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
I think the first conversation you and I had was about zippers specifically, because I feel like I have a lot of like zipper neuroticism, and like I'm really into like a very good zipper, and Lampo zips are one of the ones I feel like I see the least often of the.
I think that's partly because it's very hard to source them for some reason. But YKK, I think YKK XL is the best in terms of reliability, cost to function ratio. I think it is just the best. And there's you can also customize a lot on the tape color and how the teeth are finished, how the sliders are finished. But as far as I know, at least in Korea, Lampo, there's not that many options.
Yeah, interesting. That's cool.
It just takes very long time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two-way zips. That's just one of my personal standards. I just hate using two-way zips. So for me, when I'm wearing a jacket, it's either all the way open or all the way closed.
Yeah.
So
And like a big part of Terry's design process is actually focused on like just his preferences, or we call it like tenets, I guess. It's like things he either hates or likes. So there's
Yeah.
like just some big no-nos.
Yeah, I just have a lot of weird things that I hate. I guess but I think that makes sense to that has to come into play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all of my favorite designers are designing the stuff they want, and then incidentally, it works really well for other people. But I think
Yep.
you really got to start with what you are looking for in the world, and that's where it's like something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And you're not trying to design for everybody either. It's like if it's something that we like, then if someone else resonates with that, it makes it a lot more of a meaningful connection, I think.
Yeah.
We're also a very small production, so why not make something that I would actually wear?
Yeah.
That's actually one of the biggest criteria. Would I wear this?
Yes. So you've never made anything you wouldn't wear.
I have.
Oh.
A lot of
Ooh.
them. Yeah, in the past,
In the
before the rebrand.
Okay.
But ever since, like everything, I would totally wear. I just don't get many chances because I'm always in the factory, just working hard.
And you don't. I talked to you guys about this, but you don't wear Blackmerle stuff when you go to the factories.
Yeah, I'm usually in my work clothes.
Okay.
My Nikes, Under Armours. Because I am very active while I'm in the factory. I'm
Yeah.
literally on the ground, just like sorting through the fabrics.
Yeah.
It can get quite dusty in there.
I feel like you should get one Blackmerle outfit that is your factory outfit and wear that for a year and see what you can do to
We
it.
actually have been talking about that. I think one of the fabric from the FW25, the new season, we're working with this moleskin fabric. Maybe
yeah.
I'll make like a set. That's
Yeah.
I
like
saw
for
Michael just light up. He loves
Moleskin.
moleskin.
Moleskin is my favorite material of all time.
Just
I don't know why.
factory, just work suit. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. And then I feel like, especially something as durable as moleskin, I think if you wear that for a year, you're gonna have like a very beautiful garment by the end of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. By the way, moleskin, it was surprisingly very hard to source.
Yeah, you were talking about this.
Yeah, I don't know why, but like to get that proper like the vintage looking moleskin, the satin weave at the back and properly brushed on the front, somehow it was very hard, but we did it.
What do you find, like when people are, because people are selling moleskin, but it's not
Yeah.
that specific vintage, what is it?
It has to be like weight, though a lot of the weight and like the brushedness, I guess. Yeah, but a lot of the things in the market, especially if you're looking for them through like corporate fabric companies in Japan, I guess it's very like not robust enough.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm really curious before we get too far away from it. You mentioned some of the core tenets, like do's and don'ts for things that you make. Could you talk a little bit to some of what those tenets are? Things that if you could ban them from every piece of clothing ever, you would just get rid of.
Yeah, it's like a lot of personal standards. But
Yeah.
I personally can't do those color on a shirt. So that's why if you see on all our field shirts,
Yep.
it's all China colored.
Yep.
Ah.
And I hate doing the top button.
Yep.
So there's no top button.
Oh, I didn't notice
Is
that.
it-
Okay.
I prevented you to doing the top button.
He doesn't like it, so no one can do it.
No,
So
I respect that.
It's not, and actually, this is the thing. Up at the top, it's got 2 button holes.
Oh.
So they're not usable to tie it together. They're
it's
used to
actually
button
to
it
hold
down.
it down to the body. And the shape's kind of unique too. Like if you really look at the collar, it's not really a China collar. It is shaped like
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
the sizing is like very like
Yeah.
dropped.
Yeah, it's
I
not
didn't
quite
notice
like,
that.
up on your. Yeah, and then when you use the top buttons, it turns it into
To
like
a
a slight
lapel,
V-neck
sort of?
kind of.
Yeah.
That's
So
why
it-
we also don't do double zips, and why most of the jackets don't have top buttons is because like we don't like having things partially open. It's either all the way open or all the way closed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another thing is like I can't do like a tight neck tees or just whatever. So if you see everything's like very dropped on the neck.
I love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Like you were saying, Michael, I really like when designers put limitations or guidelines up for themselves and then work within those boundaries. I think forces people to get more creative.
In the past, I kind of thought that was a bad thing because, like in the past, I kind of thought it more in the business way, so to say. I was like, okay, I gotta set my target perfectly, the segment of it, and then I gotta set my positioning perfectly, and then really cater to them. But like I quickly realized that's not the way to go.
I kind of feel like people can tell when
Exactly.
a brand is being made to sell versus when a brand is being made because that is what you care about.
Yeah.
And I think it's the like driving force behind so many of the brands that I really like. It's like the like Tom Brown obsessiveness about a uniform where there's so many specific things that have to be done, but that is like, it's not for everybody.
Yep.
But the people it is for is like what really like holds your business up, I guess.
But I believe I built up enough of those little tiny datas over my life, just like loving clothes, so that I should believe in my instincts, and that can be something unique that only we can offer.
Yeah. And I think like something we talk about between us and that Terry's communicated a lot to me over the years, I guess, is this idea of more of like pointillism. And so that goes back to like the idea of like blending in yet standing out inadvertently is like, it's not that we're pursuing to create some extreme statement piece, but rather the culmination of all these little dots together blend together into like these more like I guess,
Severeness.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
like where the severeness comes from.
And I don't think I really got it as much until I put on 4 layers of Blackmerle, and I was like, oh, like it really just sort of like, it's sort of greater than the sum of its parts. Like
To
each
use
individual
World
piece.
of Warcraft, you get the armor set. And
Yeah,
it
you get
all-
the set
You get the
bonus.
stacking
The
bonus.
set bonus.
And like
Yeah.
as soon as you've got all of the layers on it, it feels like so much more than just like the things as you saw
Yeah.
them individually. To go back a little, what do you mean when you talk about pointillism?
He's referencing to the art form, pointillism,
Yeah,
but
like the literal art form of like creating a image where up close you see the individual
Yeah,
dots,
yeah,
but
yeah,
when
yeah.
you move it away, you essentially see like based on the density, you would see like an image.
Yes,
So it's
okay.
like kind of
It's-
using that as a metaphor.
yeah, it is just a simple like analogy to explain this better. By no means we are inspired by the art form or like
Just the concept.
No relation. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
an analogy.
No, that
to
makes
explain
a lot of
this.
sense.
Because
Yeah.
like the reduced at severe is quite hard to explain,
Yeah.
as you saw me. So usually I just use that analogy.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that.
Yes.
Is there any? I guess I have this question about 2 things. Is there any fabric you have always wanted to work with that you haven't found? And then is there a garment you've been trying to make that just doesn't feel right yet?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of swatches sitting in my office that I really want to use, but they're just like crazy expensive. If in the future, if I get enough budget, I would just love to custom weave all the fabrics. To be honest, for the item type, I am working on a long coat right now.
like a fishtail or
No, more like a formal, but still casual.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
like that subtleness, but like something off about it. Yeah, but it's quite hard because I don't think a lot of the Blackmerle customers really would want something long. But I'm gonna do it anyways.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's what you want.
And also going back to like things that we like and don't like, there's a lot of things about long coats that we don't like.
Oh.
Ooh,
So-
speak on
It
it.
has to be very specific. I guess I just don't like those. I don't know what you call them, like the European, the classic double collars. On
The like the lapel.
yeah, lapels. Yeah. So I if I'm gonna do lapel, I need to like kind of tweak it and
Yeah.
create my own version, like how I did for the field shirt.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Another piece, I guess, would be like,
Leather pants.
yeah, we talked about like a leather pants a lot, but it's like who would really wear it? And the only leather that we've worked with is like a full grain flesh out cowhide, which you
Yeah.
can see on our shoes, and also on there's a
The new leather
leather
jacket.
double sleeve work
But
blouson.
I only wanna work with that.
I'm
leather
saying
Yeah,
straight
for
into a
now.
light,
It's
I guess.
the one right there.
This
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah, and it's so fuzzy and like no. You were holding it the first
Okay,
time.
sorry. I'm again directly into a light. Everything sort of looks the
Yeah.
same.
This
Yeah.
leather is like so like fuzzy and nappy. I know that this is maybe not cost efficient or something that would sell well, but I would wear the shit out of leather pants in that
Yeah.
in that material. I think that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little hard too on the manufacturing side.
Of course.
'cause
Yeah.
that specific leather was actually made for shoes and belts, so they're full grain. But making that leather jacket took us like 5 months because we had to find the exactly right thickness level in millimeters that would work for this design. And the jacket is like double sleeve. There's a bunch of seams. It's very intricate detail even on the inside, but kind of looks understated from the outside.
Yeah.
Anyways, but so it has been challenging.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
whenever we are trying to finalize on a sample, because every piece we are aiming to go into production, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole reason behind it. We want to develop something and then sell it to people. Am I going to be able to sell 100 of this?
Yeah.
That's always the question at the end that kind of stops us from
Sure.
doing a lot of more pieces.
I
kind of like it better that way because we don't have that much SKUs per season. So, but I like keeping them compact and tight.
Yeah.
I think it's just like I don't really want to make a lot of diluter pieces or like a filler pieces here
Sure.
and there.
Yeah.
So I just want every pieces to be the piece.
Yeah. I am curious though. You mentioned that, could I sell 100 of these? You've also mentioned, like the samples that people really love and sort of a rare, maybe a not viable for
Yeah.
making 100 fabric.
Yeah.
For things like, the work jacket that is, again, a leather that wasn't necessarily intended for a jacket, you sort of had to do all this work with it. Do you ever prioritize just saying, okay, maybe it's okay, we don't get to 100, we'll make 10 just because they work really well for a collection?
Oh yeah, all the time. Not every piece gets made in like the 100 quantities.
Got
For
it.
example, what you're talking about is exactly the leather jacket
Yep.
situation with the leather jacket. Yeah, I know like not many people, like not everyone's going to be able to afford that.
Of course.
But we still want to show it. So
Sure.
we
Yeah.
just make a very small quantity at a higher cost, but it doesn't matter again.
Yeah.
And like another instance of that too is like with our like special edition or limited pieces is like we'll test new fabrics when we put other pieces in production. We'll test them in other ones, and sometimes that's what ends up releasing. But it'll be like maybe like 3 to 10 pieces, sometimes even only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just see, do you you'll like release a couple and see how they do and think about more in the future, or it's just that's what's made?
That's just what's made, and it's not on the website. Usually, it's sold offline.
Oh yeah.
That's really cool.
cool.
I'm curious. So, when you think of maybe like a Blackmerle customer or somebody that wears it, what do you think of? Like, what in either a perfect world or just in your mind does a Blackmerle wearer look like?
So the attitude of the Blackmerle wearer would be they would again blend in but stand out at the same time. What I mean by that is, like I said before, blend in to your surrounding, to another person, but you are standing out in this very indifferent manner, like in short, like effortless cool. That's what
Yeah.
I think is the most masculine thing to do as a man.
You've brought up a couple of times masculinity as it pertains to some of your garments, and one of the things that you talk about a lot, sort of in that reference, are the flipped sleeves.
I think cuffs
Or cuffs,
are
excuse me.
the area of menswear or a guy's like outfit that is the most masculine, and that's why we always kind of emphasize the layers on the cuff, like flowers, like kind of blooming out of the cuff. Yeah, I think that's just the most masculine spot.
Was that something that you were doing? I think you said you wanted to do it with the Blackmerle things, but before even Blackmerle, would you just do that yourself and you would?
Yeah. I would always layer up, especially on the sleeve.
That's awesome. I notice I always do it. I have a leather jacket downstairs, but sleeves are cuffed. I had a professor that would do it, or not a professor, a teacher in high school that would do it with suit jackets, which, you don't really ever unbutton those 4 buttons on a traditional men's jacket, but he would always either cut them off if they were sewn or just flip them inside out.
Nice.
And it was very recognizable. Yeah. I always think of him when I see
He knows it.
Yeah, no, he gets it.
Well, I now that I think about it, when I was in my like preppy phase, I was really into wearing like a button-up shirt, like an Oxford, and then another button-up shirt over it, like a slightly heavier like flannel one,
Interesting.
and having the like 2 sleeves. I don't know why. It's just like a thing I got really into for like a couple years.
I think that's again, like you think of like a Mad Men, or like a Don Draper, right? And like jackets off on a hook, suit pants are on, button downs on, and the sleeves are like rolled up.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's very traditional.
So
Masculine.
almost all Blackmerle pieces, at least for the top, there's vent on the sleeve cuffs.
Yeah.
Except for the bomber jacket.
Yeah. We're obviously sitting here in the Komune pop-up, but you know, you're not new to pop-ups. You've done them in Korea. I'd love to hear about some of the processes behind it, how you've arrived at sort of the visual identity and bringing, you know, Blackmerle as a brand into a space and taking it over and communicating it.
Yeah, so going back really, actually when I first moved back to Korea, I was basically crashing on Terry's floor for like 3 months. And we just got really experimental and trying to build out a world around the brand. This is just actually like just before COVID. Yeah, before the rebrand. And we were focusing on creating something more interesting for our showrooms in Paris. And from there, like, I just love like being hands-on and like building stuff. And
We made some crazy dolls.
yeah, we made some
out of,
crazy stuff like
chicken wire.
yeah, using like chicken wire frames
And
with
like
like
literally
movable
like
joints.
2,000 cable ties.
Yeah,
More
like-
than that.
Wait,
Yeah.
what did you make out of it? What for?
I made like a 7-foot tall puppet with like completely movable joints. Actually, I made 2 of them, and it had like a movable jaw. And it was completely covered in like this crazy, like I can't even remember what the fabric
So
was.
before the rebrand, we used to do like these customizable clothing where like just in short, like jackets being attached to another jacket to form
Yeah.
something new, and like 3 pants coming together and becoming like a jumpsuit, right?
Gotcha.
Or something. So
Yeah.
we did like a more of an extreme abstract version of that on the puppet. Covered
Cool.
it with
Yeah.
our jackets and
Yeah.
stuff.
So basically, like around that time, that was 2019, like October through December, and then I figured out like more proper living situation over there. But that was around the time when the hiatus started.
Sure.
So I actually like changed jobs throughout COVID and just worked in an office. But coming back this last year, to be like full time with Blackmerle, we wanted to explore that side again, but in a more relevant to the rebrand. And so like I really just picked Terry's brain, and we've done some custom furniture, and I always take care of like the VMD or like interiors or set design for the lookbooks.
For those who may not know, what is VMD short for?
Visual merchandising design. Yeah.
Good, because I didn't know. I was just guessing.
Yeah. So we've done like I designed some like custom like racks and stuff, and we call them, I guess, like pillars or like monoliths. And we still have them in our office, but it's just been yeah.
Do you still have the puppets?
No, I think we threw them out. They were on the street in Paris at one
Yeah,
point.
we had to
Yeah.
just toss them out.
That's
Unfortunately.
And they were like super hairy and just they had gotten like rained on and stuff. So yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, and you'd have to like bring them back from Paris. Yeah.
We can just make another one.
Yeah.
But, we just wouldn't do it.
I'd rather not, because like my hands were just covered in cuts from the chicken wire. Yeah.
Do you you don't have a physical retail location, or do you? Anywhere, I guess.
Flagship, you mean?
Yeah.
No, we don't have a flagship. We just work with our stockist worldwide. Yeah.
Is that something you're interested in, or is that a whole world that seems?
I definitely have thought about it, but probably not at this point.
Yeah.
It's not really. It wouldn't make sense
Oh, yeah.
for our operation. We basically just burn all our budget into fabrics.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like the other thing too is like creating a flagship store nowadays where retail's at. It's just not something that I think we could cover. And
Yeah.
that's why we love working with stores like Komune. is because I think like the market's really shifting towards more community and education,
Yeah.
and being like a lot more holistic in their approach to connecting with the customer, and being more close with the brands. So like we're super close with the Komune team, and
Yeah.
and they really have done a great job of communicating our brand to the New York audience, for example.
I think in particular, Komune is so good at getting a community together and then getting them just very interested in whatever they're interested in.
I think it's because they themselves are interested in it, right? I mean, they're not hawking schlock, right? They sell
just
good stuff.
honest communication. Just
Yeah,
like, you know.
And you guys have been here for, I guess, 2 days now. Well, you've been in Komune for 2 days. Have you been? Have you met a lot of like Blackmerle people? Have you met a lot of your like fans while you've been here? I guess.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
talked to quite many people.
Yeah. How's that been?
Thankfully, thank
Yeah.
you for coming. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
also
it's been great because I really wanted to, because we didn't go to Paris this season and we chose to come to New York instead to do this pop-up because I think getting closer to your end consumer is more important.
Yeah.
I think like a better way to phrase that is
Yeah,
we have a really good relationship with all of our retail partners
okay.
or stockists, and so thankfully, like through communicating with them, they were all very open and willing to let us take this opportunity rather than coming in person and seeing them and showing them the new collection. And so this season was not really about expanding to new stores. It was about like sticking with the retail partners that we're with and shifting towards like, yeah, definitely getting closer to the consumer. Because at the end of the day, that does benefit the stockists as well. And we've seen that in like as we shift to that direction more.
I don't think we're gonna like distribute to a lot of stores anytime soon. We prefer to work more closely with few select partners.
it makes sense that you'd want to be deliberate. If anybody's interested in the brand and you have the opportunity, if you're near a stockist or a place where you could go and put on the clothes, it's a really good time to go and sort of play dress up. And it's quite exciting. Like when Michael and I were putting on clothes, we were sort of running around and just putting more layers on.
More layers.
Like
Just
it
more
worked
layers.
really well. It was a really fun experience. And I also think that there's a growing appetite for consumers to go back and shop for things in person and try things on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, with Korea and maybe Korean consumers being a little bit more focused on trends, how can you guys stay focused and stay deliberate and make sure that the people that you're looking to connect with in Korea are seeing and interacting and joining the community around your brand?
So yeah, I did say that like Korea is very trend focused, but that's not to I don't want to generalize
of course.
the entire population.
Yeah.
I think like something that we've seen, especially after COVID, is people are a lot more informed in regards to quality and I think like
The general
Yeah,
craft
my-
of a product that they might be buying.
yeah, I think even like people who aren't necessarily into designer brands, but started getting into fashion, like for example, the huge Alibaba phase throughout COVID, there was a lot of like people who really started to discover the lower end of quality.
Yeah.
And that I think that really led even the most general consumers towards more informed buys and understanding that sustainability, it's not just about like eco-friendly stuff, but it's really about buying investment pieces or things that are made with care and that will last and age well.
Yeah.
And I think like Korea is definitely like a big part of the market is like that, and they do value quality. It's not just trend based.
Right. Do you have a lot of? I mean, you have customers kind of all over. Do you have like a solid fan base in Korea as well that you're aware of?
I think so.
Yeah.
Not this year, 2024, we did several pop-ups, maybe like 3, 4.
A lot.
A lot.
I can't remember them
And
all.
we have a very good partner in Seoul that we work very closely with. Thanks to them and thanks to our pop-up, like we have quite a bit of fans
Yeah.
that really come back and buy more pieces from us.
That's cool. Yeah. You're world building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your favorite parts of doing some of those pop-ups? Is it interacting with the community? Is it seeing people try things out in ways that you didn't expect? Are there certain things that surprise you even as you do more pop-ups?
Yes, maybe one of the more enjoyable part would be just talking to them, just finding out what they want, like just more data, like very helpful for us.
Yeah, I think from from my part in planning, the most fun part about it is the challenge because, for example, we've done pop-ups, like solo pop-ups where we rented a space, and that's where we would go the most extreme with like designing custom furniture or like fixtures, to working with like a major department store. And in that case, it's like when we were working in a solo exhibition or like pop-up, it's completely our world. It's completely under our control. And then when we work with a department store, we're trying to figure out like how can we work within their rules, because there's a lot, especially in Korea. And then on top of that, there's also ones like with the store that Terry mentioned in Seoul, is like we wanted to show people why we belonged there, because like that was kind of like the first pop-up with them was really about introducing the brand to their audience, and the other brands that they stock are not really similar to Blackmerle, but we both mutually with them agreed that like we thought it was a good fit. And so from there it was like, okay, like how do we like meld into the store, which is much different than just like we just had like a huge black massive like monolithic like setup in this department store that was completely out of the box for them. They'd never seen anything like that. And so that I guess it's exciting to see how we can exist in these different spaces.
So you might say you're blending in but standing out.
Essentially.
Exactly.
And also just the different customers. Like all these different spaces, like a department store shopper versus a boutique shopper, is very different.
Yeah.
It feels very rewarding when you're just like working so hard for the setup, and when you finish and you see the final outcome.
Yeah, and you did a great job here. I feel like you really. Actually, it took me until today. I've been looking at the Komune sign all weekend and being
the
like,
other side?
The logo on the other side.
Yeah,
right?
I keep looking at it and being like, why doesn't that say Komune? And I didn't even register until today that it's the Blackmerle logo sideways. I'm dumb.
I watched them do it. I remember looking at it from a distance. I was like, oh, the sign break?
I was like, wait, what's that store in front of Komune? Where's that? I don't know why it took me until today to realize that, but it's really cool. Like you have fully turned Komune into a Blackmerle.
Yeah, for this pop-up and specifically, we tried to keep it simple. I mean, they have their setting like already. Everything's balanced here. Everything's thought out. So why don't we just bring the content, the clothing, and let that speak?
And I feel like your brand is sort of built to be in Komune anyways. It's I mean, it's already grayscale. So so that's perfect. Oh,
I was going to ask, when you design a pop-up, especially one where you have to fit into a space, you're in a department store and you have to stand out, how are you thinking about either the philosophy or the messaging behind the brand and communicating that in a space that you can't basically dictate or take over?
Well, we just kind of end up doing what we want, the way we want it, but we kind of like reduce them down just a little bit to kind of like custom tailor to the target customer of that whatever pop-up location might be.
Sure.
Yeah, I think like the most challenging one was definitely the department store, but luckily the person who was kind of managing it with us from the department store side was very open to our ideas. So we did actually just create something crazy in there, and it was also rewarding. Like we had like 60-year-old women coming in and buying full fits.
Hell
Seriously, that's awesome.
She was wearing CCP.
Wait, what that's so cool. Hold up. That's crazy.
Yeah, we also kind of resonate with the wide range of age groups too, like younger people, of course, but some of the older crowd also love our design.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense. I know that not my mom, but some of my mom's friends love, like you have like the 60-year-old guy fit where they want to look cool but not have anybody take notice.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be great. Like, I don't know, one of the pairs of sweats or the pairs of pants and like black shirt would do numbers in the retired tech bro community.
One of the more, and this is something I haven't seen until this pop up, but you've started doing jewelry recently.
Yes.
You have some of it on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a really cool story. Could you talk to us about how that came about?
It's actually it's made in collaboration with my wife. She's a ceramic artist. Her name is Shiot. That's her artist name. So what she does, she used to hand make these ceramic jewelries and used to sell them as one-of-ones. But now, after collaborating, she specifically designs it for the silver casting. So she would make the handmade rings, jewelry, bracelets, and then we would take that, cast it in silver, and make our jewelry line. What's special about them is because they're handmade. I wish I could show you, but even on the inside, there's like all these like subtle, like distinguishable, extreme details here and there because it's like fully handmade.
Really
cool. They're great.
And the thing you were telling me that I found really interesting was like ceramic jewelry has to be large to be
thick.
like thick.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
But when you're casting it, you can make sort of an unusable, like sort of so you can make a ceramic ring that's too delicate to be worn.
Okay.
But then did I get that correct?
Well, the first release of our 925 silver line, the rings were quite thick because the original sample that we used to cast them in silver were originally meant to be sold as a one-of-one ceramic rings.
Okay.
Because they are fragile, she has to make the side of the ring quite thick to be like more sturdy, more stronger. So we ended up the silver that was used in those rings were like quite ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's like quite more than a regular silver bracelet. Like
Yeah.
And you know, like the gold pricing, silver pricing going up. So this time we had her specifically design it for the casting itself.
Right,
So
yeah. And you have some of the original, like the ceramic, the rings that are, I guess, too thin to, or like scary to wear because they're such delicate ceramic.
They're not meant to be like, we're not selling them.
Yeah, but they're just here. For
Display
examples.
pieces,
Really
if
cool.
you will.
It's just easy for people to understand.
Yeah,
Because
for
if
sure.
I
Yeah.
just explain without showing them the visual example, they might not get it. But if they see the real thing,
We'll put some, I guess, video in as we're talking about it.
We
so
got
that
the
people
B-roll.
can- Yeah.
You already know. You've seen it. We're talking about it, but you were watching it. We have a Discord, and we have a Discord community. People can hang out, talk about fashion, talk about podcast. We always ask our guests to give us a keyword. So anyone listening can prove to us they've listened to at least one episode. Could you give us a secret password people can use to join the Discord?
butter.
Butter.
I don't know, but
That's it, baby. It's
that
butter.
just came up to my
Just
mind.
like that. Easy. Yeah. Okay. If you want to join the Discord, message us butter at Pair of Kings Pod.
Before we get out or get off of the podcast,
You're doing what?
grow up. Before we get out of here, we're going to do Song of the Week. You can find all the songs that we recommend and all the songs that our guests recommend on a Spotify playlist called Pair of Kings. I believe the R is a 12.
Yeah, it's
but
Pay 12 of Kings.
perfect. We'll start with Michael. Do you have a Song of the Week that you want to add?
Yes, I'm going to do Devotion and Desire by Bayside. Bayside
Interesting.
is a like legend of the New York like emo scene. They're really cringe. They're like very corny lyrics. And for some reason I started listening to them for the first time since high school this week. So, Devotion and Desire by Bayside. That's my story.
Terry, what's your Song of the Week? What have you been listening to?
I really just listen to what I listen to. I don't.
Yeah, what do you
That's
what do you-
perfect.
Yeah.
I just listen to a lot of mixes on the SoundCloud. So
Okay. Oh, cool.
not really a name to really
Okay.
recommend.
All good.
I can
Okay.
just send you the link.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
that's
that,
perfect.
please. you have
Justice? Song? Favorite song?
Not a favorite song, but just the first one that came to mind. It's called Four Ton Mantis, it's called Four Ton Mantis by Amin Taubin.
Hell
But
yeah.
yeah, you'll have good luck finding that.
I think somebody uploaded it as a podcast
Oh,
episode.
that's perfect. Put that on.
No, it's a playlist that they titled that doesn't have the song on it. I think.
They got too esoteric of music taste, but you look that up.
it got removed online, but there's a like Bonobo remix or something, which is arguably just as good. I
Okay.
think there's a link if you there's a version that comes up first, and there's a link in the description, and it's
Okay.
it's easy to find. Yeah.
We'll find it.
Yeah, I think they've scrubbed it. I think if you click on the playlist, it doesn't pull itself up.
I did once put the entire audiobook of Blood Meridian onto one of our playlists, so everything's fair game.
I'm doing a classic of like the SoundCloud rap era that everybody sort of forgot about. It's called Without You. The original artist was named Spooky Black.
Wait, yeah.
It's a white
Corbin.
dude in a do-rag. Yeah. His
Yeah.
name is Corbin now. But I think that was one of the more influential songs of the SoundCloud era.
The first quirked up white boy in a do-rag they ever saw.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, Terry, Justice, take the floor. If you have any shout outs, anything you want to mention, anything you want to plug, take the floor. It's yours. Before I do the outro.
Thanks to the Komune team
Yeah.
for setting this up and for the pop-up. Yep, everything.
Thank you again to Martin, Cassie, Leah, Lance, Brandon, Alex, Rue,
Sabina.
Lance.
Oh, no,
I said
you-
Oh,
Lance,
you
yeah,
included
yeah.
Lance.
The
and
commune team keeps growing, and it gets harder to thank all of them, but
they're all wonderful. Thank you so much for having us, letting us use the space. And then thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
As
Also,
always,
Thank you, New York.
oh, yeah.
I'm Saul Thompson. You can find me on Instagram at Saul Thompson. I'm joined this week not only by my wonderful co-host,
I'm Michael Smith. I'm on the internet somewhere.
and we are joined by Justice and Terry of Blackmerle. You can find them on Instagram at
Blackmerle.
Justice with 3 J's and 3 E's.
Easy.
Just dice.
This has been the Pair of Kings podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Pair of Kings Pod. Don't forget to join the Discord. And if you enjoyed the episode, would like more episodes and access to giveaways, head over to herohero.co/POK. You'll get access to all of those for as little as $4 a month. It helps support us and keep the lights on, literally and metaphorically. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, if you're listening to this, or a Thursday if you are listening to this on the Hero Hero. Take care. I love you, and have a great day.
Goodbye.
Bye now.